So welcome again. So in this video, let us discuss about employee compensation. So what is basically an compensation here? It doesn't mean that it is only a salary paid to the work that is done to an employee. It is much more than that. This helps them to, or this motivates them to keep working for a company in a much more attached manner. So it is not basically about the regular rewards for work done, but it also makes certain attempts it is also an attempt made by employers to retain their employees. It is much more than the salary, but it includes benefits and other incentives also. So it can be tangible or intangible. So what is meant by tangible compensation or tangible benefits? So tangible benefits include insurance, it can be holiday packages, maternity leave for women, pensions, bonus, and share of profits. And intangible compensation, it could be in the form of promotions, letters of appreciation, and being provided with good office setups. So all those come under intangible benefits. Now, some types of compensation are like salary, wages, bonus, insurance facility, health allowance, daily allowances, housing facilities, traveling allowances, canteen, subsidy. So many things will be there depending on the type of company that the employee is working. Let us see some of the components included in the compensation. First one is about the basic pay. Now, you know the difference between blue collar jobs and white collar jobs, right? So for blue collar workers, basic pay may be based on the work done. That is piece wage system. We shall discuss this piece wage system, time based system at the end. But for white collar employees like supervisory staff, managers, the basic salary is generally time bound. That means it could be monthly usually. So basic pay is generally determined through the job evaluation, which is the process of systematically judging or ascertaining the relative worth of the job. So basic pay is fixed based on the nature of the job or worth of the job. So sometimes demand and supply of labor, prevailing wage rates, statutory requirements, ability to pay by the company. So all these are considered in deciding the basic pay. Ability to pay by the company is also very important. If the company is not doing well, then they may not be able to give the compensation in a higher manner. So it all depends. The second component is about the allowances. So there are four types of allowances that we are mentioning here. First one is dearness allowance. It is also in short called as DA. So this allowance is given to protect real income against inflation, or generally DA is paid as a percentage of basic. It could be 30%, it could be 40%, it could be 50%. It depends on the company. Next is house rent allowance. This is called as or considered as HRA in short. So employers who do not provide living accommodation to their employees will pay HRA to the employees. So usually in the government sector, it is calculated 30% of the basic pay. In private, it may vary. Some companies may not even give this. Then city compensatory allowance, CCA. Now, if the employee is in metros or other big cities where the cost of living is comparatively higher, CCA will compensate that. This is a fixed amount per month which is given to the employee. Then transport allowance or conveyance allowance. Now, usually some employers will pay for their transport. Either the company will provide the vehicles or they may pay a nominal amount. It may not be a complete reimbursement as such. It could be a part of their traveling expenses which is paid by the company. But in some cases, it could be medical allowances, education for education allowances for children, then food or ration allowances or tiffin allowances. These are also paid apart from the four allowances that I mentioned. in this slide. Next is about the incentives. So incentive, it is paid to motivate the employees to work harder and to do better. It could be either in the form of individual incentives or it could be in the form of team incentives. Bonus, profit sharing, commission on sales are some of the examples of incentive compensations. Usually in automobile industry, there will be a sales team. Within the organization itself, there will be different teams, different groups. So the best performing groups will be awarded with incentives. Fourth one is about the fringe benefits. So several types of benefits are paid to the senior level of employees. It could be provident fund, pensions, gratuity, then encashment of earned leave. Some companies will provide the company house, a furnished house or a bungalow. It can be in the form of company vehicle or a company car with the driver. Then leave travel concession, medical aid, interest-free loans, holiday homes, entertainment. These are all some of the examples of fringe benefits. Now coming to the objectives of wage and salary administration. There are a few objectives. Here the first one is to establish a fair and equitable remuneration. Both are considered. There should be internal as well as external equity in remuneration which is paid to their employees. Now what is meant by internal equity? Internal, it is within the company. So internal equity means similar pay for similar work. Similar pay for similar work. Or there could be wage differentials between jobs, but it should be in proportion to the differences in the worth of jobs. That is very important. Then what is external equity? External equity implies pay for a job should be equal to pay for a similar job in other organizations. May not be exactly same. Again, it depends on the company policy, but this is one of the objective of wage and salary administration. So payment based on job requirements, employee performance, and industrial levels, this minimizes the favoritism or inequities in pay. So what I mentioned is purely the theoretical concepts. Most of the companies follow. Some companies may deviate a little. Second is to attract competent personnel. Personnel means the employees. A good wage and salary administration will definitely help to attract the qualified and hardworking people by ensuring an adequate payment for all jobs. Not only to attract, the next point is to retain the present employees. So if the wage and salary administration is perfect, no employees will leave the organization, right? So it can minimize the incidence of quitting and also creates an increase in employee loyalty. This is very important for a company to progress. Then fourth one is to improve the productivity. A good wage and salary administration helps to improve the motivation and morale of the employees, which in turn lead to higher productivity. Only when the employee is perfect, that means when his morale is higher, his contribution will be more, and there will be increase in the production resulting in increase in sales. So ultimately the company will benefit with the loyal employees. Fifth one is to control costs. So through a good wage and salary administration, labor and administrative cost can be kept in line with the ability of the company to pay. As I told you earlier, ability of the company to pay is very important. It facilitates administration and control of payroll. The company can systematically plan payroll budgeting and it can very easily control the labor costs. Sixth one is to establish job sequences and lines of promotion wherever it is applicable. Seventh one is to improve the union management relations. See, only when this wage and salary is properly managed, the rapport between the union leaders and the management will be in good terms. Else what is going to happen? There will be frequent strikes, get-outs, and all those issues will create unrest in the organization. So it reduces the grievances also if they're properly paid. Then eighth one, to improve public image of the company. This depends on the reputation of the company, right? If a company is able to pay more and if all the employees are happy, what happens? The company's image will be enhanced. They will speak positive about the company and automatically the goodwill of the company will increase. Now, this is very important what I am explaining for the sake of exams. Essentials of a sound wage and salary structure. Again, few factors to be considered here. First one is internal equity. Now, what is meant by internal equity? It implies proper relationship between wages paid for different jobs within the company. Therefore, it comes internal. So, pay differentials may be there, but it should be proportional to the worth of the job or job evaluation, as I told you. So fair pay differentials between jobs can be established with the help of proper job evaluation. So job evaluation has to be done properly to know the worth of the job. It is useful in eliminating the widely varying wages for jobs of equal difficulty. Isn't it? So equal difficulty jobs should be paid equally, right? So it also minimizes the wage differentials on the basis of sex, religion, caste, etc. It should not be based on these factors at all. Everyone should be uniformly paid. The second one is external competitiveness. External means outside the company. So in the locality, the wages and salaries, what is paid in the neighboring organization should also be considered. Otherwise, the organization may not be able to attract and retain the good and the competent employees, right? They will go. Why they have to stay? For them, any organization is okay to earn their living. So if you don't pay them well, they will leave. So simple as such. So what is in the local prevailing wages in the local environment, local companies, that has to be considered when you fix a job, when you fix a salary or wages. So salary survey can be conducted. So it will help us to know how much each organization is paying. It can be obtained very easily. Third one is about the built-in incentive. Now this will surely motivate the employees to perform better. It could be definitely related to performance-based payment. So a part of the total payment should be linked to individual or group performance. Only then the teamwork, the team culture will be developed. A good performance appraisal system should be used to measure accurately and objectively the performance of individual employees. So this is the built-in incentive. Fourth one is link with productivity. So some part of the total pay should be linked to productivity. Many companies do this. So this type of linkage is necessary because workers will expect a share in the productivity gains. So that means he will know if the productivity increases, he will be paid more. So he will be committed, he will be dedicated so as to increase the productivity. That means his share also will be more. Then fifth one, maintain real wages. At least a part of the increase in the cost of living should be neutralized so as to protect his real wages. So in India, dearness allowance is for this particular purpose only. The percentage they may vary depending on the inflation. Then sixth one is about the increments. So company policy can be good motivator if pay increases are linked with merit. We discussed earlier with respect to promotions, isn't it? Merit with respect to the seniority, all these things. So here also this factor has to be considered. But annual increment should be linked to seniority or years of service. What is the logic behind this concept? This means that seniority, when a person is gaining experience based on the seniority, he will be able to equip himself with better skills so as to increase the efficiency. So accordingly, he has to be paid a little more when compared to the freshers. So what are the factors affecting compensation or factors affecting determination of wage system? First one could be demand for and supply of labor. So some type of jobs you will not find people. So what has to be done? So demand is more, supply is less. So accordingly, the wages have to be revised so that you can just somehow pull him to the system. Okay. So where there is no shortage of labor, particularly in India, not for all professions, for some professions, wages tend to be low. But the salaries of the executives, that is the top level managers in India after liberalization, has increased because there is a need to manage such a large scale venture in a professional manner. So the salaries of the executives increase, not for the labor class as such. Second, it is the ability to pay. Again, I stress, ability to pay by the company is very important. If the company is not performing well, they cannot pay well to their employees, right? So it depends on the paying capacity by the company. So this ability to pay depends upon the profit earning capacity of the company. If the company is in loss, they cannot pay more. Okay. So you take the example of MNCs. They pay relatively high because their earning capacity is more, profit earning capacity is more. Third is about the labor unions. This is a big headache in some of the organization. There will be frequent, bargaining, all these issues, sometimes strikes. So labor unions have to be very carefully dealt with. So well-organized trade unions exert pressure for higher wages and allowances. They keep on doing it. Maybe once the settlement is done for 3 years, again they will start. So this is happening in all organizations. So there should be a clear-cut policy so that this particular issue is taken care of. Fourth one is about the cost of living. So due to inflation, what happens is the real wages decline, which affect the purchasing power of the workers. So therefore, DA is given according to changes in consumer price index. Usually this DA should periodically change with respect to the consumer price index, but some companies do it, some don't do it. So labor agreements generally have a clause providing for automatic increase in pay as cost of living rises. So whenever the cost of living rises, automatically the DA should vary. But how many companies are doing it? Fifth one, prevailing wage rates. So while fixing wages, prevailing wages in the particular industry or region should be considered. Only then you will be able to retain and attract qualified and experienced workers. Otherwise they will leave, right? So this is another important factor. Sixth one is about the job requirements. So this basic wages depend largely on the difficulty level and the physical and the mental effort required for a particular job. So some type of jobs require only the physical, but some requires the mental, some requires physical as well as mental effort, right? So the relative worth of a job can be estimated through job evaluation. Accordingly, the wages should be fixed. Seventh one is about the productivity. So there is an increasing trend towards linking wages with increase in productivity or performance of the workers. This has been introduced in many companies. So in some companies, annual increment is based on merit, while in some other, it is without any relation to the performance of a worker. It happens in government, as I told you earlier, right? So private companies, usually the increments depends on the performance. Then the last one is a state regulation, that is the policy of the state is also very important. The labor department, there are people who take care of all those companies, right? The government level. But this labor department will also take care of the policies of the private companies. So it doesn't mean that all this labor department everything is for only government companies. No. There is a control by them. They come to the companies to inspect whether all the legal procedures are being followed. So wage policies and laws of the government plays an important role on wage levels. Okay, there are various legislations incorporated, so you cannot simply run the company as such. There are so many labor laws there, industrial dispute, the Factories Act, so many laws are there which we need to follow. So organizations cannot violate the laws of minimum wages. Okay, payment of bonus, DA, other allowances, equal pay for equal work. So all those will be verified by the labor inspectors. Now coming to what is a time wage system. Time wage system, as you know, time wage, it is paid for the time that they are contributing. This may be for a day or a week or a fortnight or a month. Correct? So earlier days, it was, the daily wages have been the most common wages. But now also for the laborers, in some companies, daily wages are still being paid. For some, it will be weekly. For some, it will be fortnightly. But the general policy is to pay for a month in a company. So what is the advantage here? This is very easy. This is the simplest and the oldest method. Easy to understand, and workers can easily compute their own remuneration. Everything is transparent. So in this type, the earnings of workers are regular and fixed. So there is no temporary loss of the wages. So this gives them a sense of economic security and self-confidence. The worker is assured with a fixed income, and he can plan for his expenses accordingly, because he knows how many days he's worked, he will get the payment. So the employer can also calculate the wage bill in advance, because they know for how many months, how many days he'll be working. So accordingly, it is very easy. It is very easy for the employee, very easy for the company also to calculate, and proper budgeting. So what is the disadvantage? This method provides no incentive for better performance, as reward is not proportionate to effort. Here effort is not considered. Here only time is considered. So it makes no difference between efficient and inefficient workers. This is one of these are the two disadvantages of time wage system. So next is about the piece wage system. Here the remuneration is based on the amount of work done or output that is generated by the worker. So 1 unit of output is considered as 1 piece, and a specific rate of wage is fixed per piece. So that means greater the number of pieces that he is able to produce, he will be entitled for higher remuneration. Again, there are advantages as well as disadvantages here. So what are the advantages? There is a direct relation between effort and reward, whereas in the previous one it was not like that. So workers who work hard and produce more will be paid more, isn't it? So this provides an incentive to increase the productivity. So what happens here? The ambitious and the efficient workers are provided suitable opportunity to utilize their talent and increase their earnings. Thereby, they will be able to enhance their standard of living. But disadvantages are also there. The earnings of workers are not stable, and they may suffer due to temporary delays or difficulties. Sometimes raw materials did not reach on time to the company. He will not be able to produce the sufficient number of pieces, right? So automatically he will be paid less. So in order to maximize their earnings, some workers work with excessive speed, because here for every piece they produce, they'll be paid, right? So they will be in a hurry. So this may affect their health, and also it increases the wastage of materials when you are doing it in a hurry. and wear and tear of machinery also. So these are the drawbacks. Now coming to some of the terms I'd like to briefly mention here. A question can be asked sometimes, what are fair wages? Fair wages involves a rate sufficiently high to enable the worker to provide a standard living for his family, which includes the food, the shelter, the clothing, the medical care and education for children as per his status, but not exceeding the wage earning capacity of the class of establishment considered. So every class will have a, the standards. So if he is having that standard, he cannot go for the higher one because his earning capacity is not that. So fair wage is only mentioning about sufficiently high to enable the worker for a standard living. Then what is living wage? Living wage is that high enough to maintain a normal standard of living. That is a living wage. He has only for his living. There may not be any savings left. Okay. Then vestibule training. What is vestibule training? It is basically on the job of training in which a technical person is taught how to utilize tools and machines in a simulated environment, not in the actual working area. Now for car driving also there is something called as, a kiosk, like where you sit and hold the steering for you to get more confidence in the steering control. So same way some companies will have a set of machineries, not for the sake of actual utilization, but only for the training purpose. It's on the job training only. Another example could be the training of airline pilots in a simulated cockpit. So directly they will not be given with the flight to fly, right? A simulated concept will always be there. Then what is meant by discharge? Discharge is the termination of the services of an employee, but it is not done for the punishment purpose, not for the sake of punishment. Then premature retirement, I think I told you earlier also. So this means the retirement of an employee ahead of attaining the age of superannuation. This could be either on his or her own volition or as a result of an order passed by the competent authority in public interest. Then coming to some of the questions, what is fair wage? What is the meaning of living wage? What do you mean by time wage system? Write any two advantages of time wage system. Give any two examples of fringe benefits. Then explain the characters of a good wage payment system and factors involved in determining salary. What are the essentials of a sound wage and salary structure? What are the factors to be considered while deciding employee compensation or wage system? What are the various methods of wage payments with relative merits and demerits? These are some of the questions which has been asked earlier. Uh, but there could be some other questions. So I've listed only the few questions which was asked. So with this, let us complete this video. So thank you very much and wish you all the best.